New content in the shape of Le Maestros content pack will be coming to EA Sports WRC tomorrow, and we've been given a set of keys. Now I'm going to use this opportunity to not only show you some of the new content, but also tell the special story that the Le Maestros theme represents. A story of dominance that seemingly came out of nowhere and would change the shape of the sport for years to come. For better or worse. EA Sports WRC's Le Maestros content pack drops tomorrow, bringing 6 new cars, 12 new stages based on 2 existing locations, 16 new moments, and 17 new liveries. Now, with the exception of the 12 new stages based on 2 real routes in Monte, Carlo and Portugal, which are split in half and reversed in the usual format to form those 12 stages, there is one particular theme that this Le Maestros content pack goes for. The focus is on one single nation's World Rally Championship impact. When I was born during the latter half of the 90s, World Rallying was being dominated in many ways by Japan. The final Group A years and the transition into World Rally Car regulations saw the likes of Subaru, Mitsubishi and Toyota fighting it out for victory on a regular basis. By this stage, Italian stalwarts Lancia had disappeared from the scene, and it was really only Ford who could mount a serious challenge to the Japanese marques. From a French perspective, things had been a little quiet since Peugeot's Group B splash in the mid-80s and Renault's plucky little Maxi 5 Turbo stealing the show with its 2-wheel drive setup on tarmac events at least. French representation in Group A was nigh on non-existent, but for a pair of decent drivers in François Delacour and Didier Auriol, the latter winning the Drivers' World Championship in 1994 for Toyota. Finland had Kankinen and Mäkinen. Britain had McRae and laterally Burns, whilst El Matador himself, Carlos Sainz, took 2 titles for Spain. By this point, France had just 1 driver's title and 3 manufacturer titles across the WRC's 25-plus year history. Not nothing, but not significant either. That being said, it wasn't like Renault or Citroën or Peugeot weren't interested or invested in the sport during this period. In fact, far from it. They were instead building cars to the FIA 2-litre regulations for front-wheel drive machines, known as F2 kit cars. This was the top-level category for many national championships at the time, including the French and British rally championships. F2 cars were of course underpowered compared to their top-class rivals, and with their front-wheel drive system, they were fairly heavily compromised on mixed surfaces as well. But these lightweight rocket ships were agile, and they were purposeful. And perhaps unsurprisingly, given their all-tarmac national championship, the French did it best. In 1998, the 306 Maxi and the Xsara, entered by Peugeot and Citroën respectively, were quick enough to challenge for victories on the dry asphalt WRC events. And no, I don't mean F2 class victories, overall victories. It's fair to say the big guns weren't too happy about this.
We allow a Formula 3000 start in a Formula 1 race and suddenly start to be faster than the Formula 1. For me, that is ridiculous.
Allowing the F2 cars to be quicker than the World Rally cars, which is absolutely ludicrous.
This Xsara Kit Car may be the oldest machine in this DLC pack, but it represents the birth of the French rallying dynasty. As in 1999, this French F2 car, with French driver Philippe Begalski and French co-driver Jean-Paul Chiarone, would win the Spanish and French rounds of the World Rally Championship outright. This car, and arguably the Peugeot 306 Maxi as well, would effectively end the incredible Formula 2 regulation set because they were just too successful. Obviously there were other factors at play like growing costs, the usual things that end regulation sets, but the competitiveness of these cars in the overall standings had a big impact. The WRC teams didn't want to be beaten by lower class cars, and that was that. No matter, said Peugeot and Citroën, if we're no longer allowed to build F2 cars capable of beating the World Rally cars, let's just build World Rally cars capable of beating the World Rally cars. The year 2000 saw Peugeot enter its 206 WRC for its first full season campaign, after a handful of outings in '99. The eccentric brilliance of Marcus Grönholm, one of my all-time heroes, and a car that worked well on all surfaces, resulted in a maiden driver's title for the Finn, with 4 victories on snow and gravel. He was ably assisted by Frenchman and tarmac expert Gio Panizzi, whose 2 victories helped Peugeot secure the manufacturer's title and return to its former glory. Citroën, understandably, wanted in on it, and behind the scenes were working away on a 4-wheel drive WRC spec version of the Xsara, using some of the learnings they'd found on this F2 kit car. They were also looking to employ young French talent, and secured the services of a young man called Sébastien Loeb. He would drive a works Citroën Saxo in the Junior World Rally Championship, the inaugural season of that series in 2001, whilst also competing at national level in an F2 Xsara kit car. Whether it was the French Championship or the Junior World Rally Championship, Loeb dominated. And his efforts were enough to see him given an opportunity at the sport's highest level during the 2001 San Remo rally towards the end of the season for Citroën. It would be a mighty understatement to say that on this debut performance, Loeb made an impact. At the end of the opening day, there were 6 French cars on French tyres filling the top 6 positions, with Panizzi, Bogalski, Oriol and Loeb making it 4 French drivers in the top 5. The country's asphalt credentials were clear for all to see. Loeb would proceed to charge down the rally win on debut, taking the battle to the final stage, and eventually settling for an incredible P2 finish within an all-French podium. After years of development, Citroën's first full-time campaign was in 2003, with Loeb, who had actually won a rally by this stage on a part-time campaign, finally getting his chance at a full-time WRC seat. That year, he would fall short of the Drivers' World Championship by 1 measly point, but he did help Citroën take away the manufacturer's crown from Peugeot on their very first attempt. And from a Loeb perspective, this would turn out to be the only full-time campaign he would ever do in the WRC where he didn't win the championship. Total domination of the sport would follow, with Loeb and Citroën going back-to-back in 04 and 05. 06 was a bit of a funny one though, because the Citroën Works team actually weren't competing in the WRC. They instead decided to take a year on the sidelines and focus on the development of the Xsara's successor, the C4. Now this left independent squad Kronos Racing in charge of the factory Citroën effort. That's why in their final year of competition the Xsaras were this strong blue colour rather than the traditional red. They still had Sébastien Loeb though. Loeb would pick up 3 wins and 8 second places in 11 rallies, including a second place in the opening round at Monte Carlo, despite actually crashing out of the rally on a snowy day 1 and having to utilise the then new Super Rally regulations to get back into the event and somehow climb back up to P2. It was incredible. He even broke his arm with 4 rounds to go of the championship and still took home the title, with a worst result of 2nd place. All of these events combined to make this one-off special blue Kronos Racing livery on the Xsara, which is available new as of the Maestros content pack, an iconic one. And driving it along this new Monte Carlo stage, it's certainly the true Sébastien Loeb experience. In 2007, Citroën picked up where they left off, the new C4 proving to be nearly as formidable as the Xsara. With Dani Sordo as his teammate, Loeb would win 4 more consecutive drivers' titles, and Citroën 3 more manufacturers' titles. During this 4-year period, however, another young Frenchman going by the name of Sébastien was beginning to make a mark of his own. Having learned his craft becoming champion in the Peugeot 206 Cup, not the Super 1600 version that's part of this content pack, but we wanted an excuse to mention it. A then 24-year-old Sébastien Ogier was signed by Citroën to compete in the 2008 Junior World Rally Championship using their C2 R2 Max. This driver and car pairing would not only win their class on debut at Rally Mexico, but also finish 8th overall, becoming the first ever Junior WRC entry to score a point in the main World Rally Championship. The C2, another new car to the game as part of Le Maestros content pack, would carry Ogier to 3 wins and the junior crown, much like Loeb had managed 7 years prior with the older Saxo. And again, much like Loeb, Citroën would reward him with a top-class debut towards the end of the season. This time, it was the treacherous Rally GB. Would it surprise you to hear he stole the show? In fact, Ogier won his first ever stage in a WRC car by 5 full seconds. and he led all the way from there until stage 6, where a mechanical issue resulted in a drop down the leaderboard. This performance, along with his success in the junior category, was enough to convince Citroën bosses of his potential, and by 2011 he would line up alongside Loeb in an all-French Works Citroën effort. This season was crucial for a number of reasons. Firstly, a major regulation change would see the World Rally Car 2-litre formula replaced by a 1600cc turbocharged formula. The cars would be shorter, cheaper, and obviously that meant the sport would be in a healthier place for manufacturers to get involved. Not that it helped much. It also meant that Citroën could enter their new DS3 that they'd launched the previous year in favour of the older C4. And secondly, this felt like a match made in heaven when it came to the driver lineup. The master and his apprentice, a 7-times champion and a rising star, an all-French lineup. Surely this was going to go brilliantly for Citroën.
You've just been handed the lead with a mistake there for the puncture of Loeb.
I think today the good thing is there is a justice in the sport. So
I think he's speaking a bit much, too much.
Yeah. Perhaps it's not that surprising, really, when you think about it properly. I mean, Loeb had never really been challenged over a season by a teammate. The pressure really did show, and things got ugly once the cards were on the table. Loeb was adamant about his number 1 status with Citroën, Ogier just wanted an equal opportunity to go for the title, and internally, it was chaos. It came down to the wire, but ultimately, it was Loeb who prevailed and won his 8th consecutive championship. And it goes without saying, Citroën were manufacturers' champions yet again. But Ogier, however, despite a 3-year contract, was gone. We only got 1 year of Sebastian versus Sebastian, 2 of the all-time greats fighting it out for a championship in equal machinery, and I guess that fact alone makes this DS3 pretty special. I said Ogier was gone in the way that a shark might disappear under the water before an attack. He would take a year away from the top class, competing in a Super 2000 Skoda Fabia, whilst developing a brand new car for a new manufacturer set to enter the sport the following year. The door was open therefore for Loeb to dominate the 2012 season, a season in which he would announce his retirement from full-time competition. 9 consecutive drivers' titles, all with Citroën, and breaking pretty much every record there was to break. It was time for someone else to have a go. I hope you're all enjoying this video. Just a quick message though for those of you using Fanatec equipment. Maybe you're looking to upgrade, maybe you're looking for new peripherals. If you use the affiliate link down in the description below, it will take you to the Fanatec website. It won't make a difference to your experience, but what it will do is help support this TraxionGG YouTube channel and of course our website. And that will help us make more content like this in the future. Back to the video. The new team that Ogier had joined was Volkswagen. Now, Volkswagen hadn't competed at the pinnacle of rallying since the late 1980s, but with a rigorous testing program under the belt the previous year, and one of the Sebastians behind the wheel, it had every chance of being successful. And successful it was. Ogier would win 3 of the first 4 rallies in 2013. Whether it was the snow of Sweden, the gravel of Portugal, or the tarmac of Catalonia, he had it well and truly covered. And just like that, after the distaste of 2011, a new Sebastian finally lifted the WRC crown, ultimately winning 9 of the 13 rallies. VW inevitably took the manufacturer's title as well, and this domination wasn't going to end anytime soon. Until further major regulation changes in 2017, this car would take 4 consecutive titles. Ogier would take 4 consecutive titles. In fact, he would win 31 of the 53 rallies he entered during that period. We'd gone from insane domination from Loeb and Citroën to equal domination from Ogier and Volkswagen. This car surely has one of the best records of any rally car ever built. Absolutely incredible. But the record must also be attributed, of course, to the genius behind the wheel. By the way, VW did build a car for the 2017 season. In fact, it's a car you can already drive in EA Sports WRC. This 2013 Polo R that's new to the game isn't even the first WRC Volkswagen to make an appearance here. But the infamous emissions scandal forced the company to re-evaluate its motorsport programs, and the 2017 effort never actually competed. In fact, we have a video about that car coming up on the channel soon, and other race cars that were built but never actually raced that you can drive in video games, so do subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss that one. It's also worth noting that as part of this new content pack, this Volkswagen and the Citroën DS3 that I drove before have actually contributed to a new class being created in the game, World Rally Cars between 2012 and 2016. For the 1.6 litre turbocharged regulation set, the Mini's also been moved into that set as well. And also, the stage I've been driving with this car, and also during the Citroën DS3 run, was the famous Fafe stage in Portugal because of this jump. It's iconic, absolutely iconic. And we've been expecting this stage in the game since pretty much day one of the reveal, to be honest. That is an epic, epic stage. I'm so glad they've finally added it to the game with this content pack. It'd be cool if there was a bigger crowd though. I do think the Fafe jump needs a massive, massive crowd for the atmosphere. Anyway, back to the story. VW's departure forced Ogier to find a new home, which he did at the underfunded M Sport Ford team. But that move didn't stop him winning 2 more consecutive titles, further proving it wasn't just about the car. That 2018 Ford livery is also included in this pack, by the way. He was now gunning for 7 titles in a row, and to the shock of rally fans all over the world, he re-signed with Citroën. Yep, Citroën was still kicking about, albeit having failed to win a title since Loeb's departure. Its C3, which is the most modern car in Le Maestros content pack, was, to be brutally honest, a bit of a dog. It was pretty good on tarmac events, but when it came to mixed surfaces, it was unpredictable, it was tricky to drive. Not traits that you want associated with a World Rally Championship campaign. Citroën were desperate to prove to the world that the car wasn't the problem, it must be the drivers. So by re-signing star man and 6-time champion Sébastien Ogier for 2019, there were no excuses. But despite his best efforts, including winning the season-opening Monte Carlo rally, even the mighty Sébastien Ogier couldn't wrestle the underperforming C3 to the title. And that meant the run of 15 consecutive championships for Frenchman named Sébastien was over. It was popular Estonian Ott Tänak who prevailed and got his first victory. This car, ironically a Citroën, was the one to end it. And the car's shortcomings were further proven by what happened following this season, because Ogier signed with Toyota, promptly won another title, then won another title the year after, and retired from full-time competition, much like Loeb had done nearly a decade earlier. So in many ways, this car signifies the beginning of the end for the French WRC dynasty. Citroën haven't been seen in the top class of competition since that disappointing 2019 season. This dog of a car, though, would provide one particularly special moment. 6 years after his full-time retirement, Loeb was back in the top flight for a handful of rounds, and back with Citroën. Piloting the ill-fated C3, he would lead on his return in Mexico, before a puncture took him out of contention. His second outing would end early in a ditch, but his third and final outing of the season, Rally Catalunya, would see the long-retired veteran claim his 79th victory in the World Rally Championship. Loeb's final dance for Citroën was a winning one. Despite its relatively poor performance against its competitors though, I have to say I love driving this car. And it's not because of the car specifically, it's because of the regulations. The WRC Plus cars that came into effect in 2017 had crazy aerodynamics, they had huge power, and in some ways shared a lot of DNA with Group B monsters. It's just amazing to push them to their limits. Le Maestros represents a significant time in WRC's history. French drivers won 17 titles in 18 attempts. French teams won 11 titles in 13 attempts. Complete and utter supremacy. But with this sort of domination comes a level of boredom for fans, and the WRC in general was on the decline. Manufacturers weren't investing. Fans were mournfully reminiscing over bygone eras, wondering what had happened to the insane competition of the early noughties. And what about the magic of Group B and the surprising golden age of Group A? Through no fault of their own, 2 incredible drivers had exposed the cracks in the WRC's framework, simply by being untouchable. I want to hear your thoughts on the current state of the World Rally Championship, and perhaps more fittingly for this particular channel, which of the 6 cars are you most excited to drive? Which of the stages are you also looking forward to? For all of the information on this upcoming content pack and the third and final DLC pack for this season's expansion, titled Hard Chargers, please do keep an eye on the Traxion.gg website, and of course, subscribe to this Traxion channel so that you don't miss any future uploads. I hope you've enjoyed today's story, and I wish you the best of luck with taming those French beasts out on the stages. That's it for me, so until next time, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.